So as most of you guys know, anyways, most of the people that follow me on Snapchat will know that I did purchase a new car, that I was looking between a few different kind of cars, but I finally picked one up, and I was kind of teasing you guys a little bit, and I said I got a Z, which isn't necessarily wrong, but I did not get a 350 or a 370Z, I got a Z06. This is a C5 Z06. It's a 2001, so that means it has the 385 instead of the 405. But that's really just the difference of a cam, which I'm probably going to put a more aggressive cam than the 405 one anyways. So, going to be making more than that. Originally I was looking for a black on black one. I was looking at a few different ones. This one was the best deal. I don't mind red. I'm just not really too big of a fan of getting pulled over. So, the color doesn't really help too much. And then the wheels, chrome wheels, which was an upgraded option, but I do prefer the gray wheels. And then one of the kind of tackier things of this thing, keep in mind this thing was made in 2001, and this is my first car and my newest car with pop locks, so I can actually unlock it, which is quite nice. Windows are already tinted, which is nice. But as you can see, it's got this black and red interior, which is pretty tacky. The doors and everything looks fine, but I'm definitely going to need to change out these seats. These seats have terrible bolstering. I mean, especially for a car that handles so well. Definitely want to get something more like some red Sparkos, kind of just go with the whole car. I don't really know yet, but as you can see, I mean, it has some wear, but that's just because the leather in the C5s isn't really that great. They are super comfortable, just the bolstering sucks. I originally wanted to get a steering wheel, different steering wheel, but this one's actually not bad. I don't mind it. The shift knob is terrible. I hate it. Everything is pretty clean on this car. I'm actually super happy with it. It's got just over 100,000 miles, which is pretty good for this car. But everything works. It's actually a really nice car. It's got the LS6. Paint's super clean. I mean, tires are, still have plenty of tread depth, tread wear, whatever you want to say. I mean, everything works, and it's crazy because this is my newest car. It's only an 01, but anyways, stock exhaust. It's really only got an intake. I'm sure that doesn't give it a whole lot of horsepower, if any at all. The stock exhaust is actually fully titanium, so I mean, it's a lot lighter than even any of the aftermarket exhausts. It is really quiet though. It does sound nice, it's just too quiet for me. I'm definitely going to want to do something about that. I'm really happy with it. This was one of my dream cars, just a car that I was looking for or looking at for a really long time, and I finally had the chance to after I sold my 65 Rambler Marlin, which I wasn't even selling it. I actually was contacted by a person that saw me at a car show, I believe, and they just ended up shooting me the right price. So anyways, I think we'll go ahead and take it for a ride, and I'll show you some of the things that I think kind of suck, some of the things I think are great. So anyways, let's go ahead and take this car for a ride. I'll give you some of my first impressions. I did have to drive this all the way from north of LA, which is about 200 miles, so I do have a little bit of experience with it so far. So yeah, first thing you'll notice getting out of any kind of driveway is how low that, there's this little air dam thing that the Vettes have, at least in the C5, that just kind of comes down, and it's about that far off the ground, which is really fucking low for a car that people are supposed to drive over speed bumps and shit, figuring speed bumps are twice that height. It's not really a big deal for me. I'm so used to it. But that thing really is just, I mean, those things get messed up all the time. It's really just for airflow, so it blocks airflow under the car so that obviously it gets better gas mileage and whatever, which, by the way, this car gets absolutely great gas mileage compared to any other car I've ever owned. I mean, Miatas probably, scrape. Miatas don't really get that great of gas mileage, but I mean, they don't get that bad either. But this thing gets over 20 miles a gallon. And that's with me driving it how I've been driving it, which is not the most fuel economically way thing. Other than that front part of the car being low, the car is extremely easy to drive. This car, I mean, I got into it right away. I've never driven a Vette or anything before. I mean, I've driven several different cars, that's, not a big deal, but it's just, this car is so easy to drive. I mean, there's everything about it is just easy. We'll get on it a little bit here. And I don't know if you guys noticed, but the traction control was on, and it's pretty evasive. I mean, this car, first gear just spin, 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 spin. Second gear, spin, 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 spin. I mean, especially when the tires aren't warmed up. Like, I literally just got in the car, so they're not. But it's pretty fucking quick. I mean, it's the quickest car I've ever owned. Gearing is really nice. On the highway, like 65 miles an hour is like 1,700 RPM, if that, in 6th gear. Really nice compared to Miatas. I mean, Miatas, they need that gearing ratio, but screaming at like 4,000 RPM really isn't just, it's really just not realistic for going super long on highway trips. It's just not enjoyable anyways. I mean, obviously, I wouldn't worry about a Miata engine, you know, failing or anything. So, pretty much, there's very little I don't like about this car. I don't like this two-tone interior, but that can be fixed pretty easily. But other than that, the radio is aftermarket, but then the speakers, I'm not sure about the speakers, but the speakers certainly aren't the best. They actually kind of suck, to be honest. But who really cares when you have a V8 and a bunch of horsepower? It seems super big from the outside, but when you're inside it just, everything feels so much tighter. You can see each of the corners of the car. I mean, especially like, you can see kind of like the hips of the car, and it really just helps you like tell where the ends of the car are. And it's just, I love this car. You know, it's a car I've wanted for a really long time, and it's lived up to what I've always hoped it to be anyways, you know, especially since I've never driven one. I've never really had that experience. So overall, I'm really, really happy with my purchase. This isn't going to take away from the Miata project. If anything, it's actually going to give a lot to the Miata project. That's going to take a lot away from the stuff I wanted to do to the Marlin. This thing is pretty much, I'm just going to keep it stock for a little bit. Who knows? I mean, if you guys know me personally, you know that I don't keep anything stock, but I'm not going to like lower it and fucking slam it with fucking camera and shit. Like, I'm actually going to fucking daily this car. Like, it has pretty low miles. I'm not afraid to put miles on it. You know what? This car is meant to be driven. It's got a LS6, perfectly reliable. You know, I drove it, 300 miles, yesterday, and it was perfectly fine. No hiccups whatsoever. So anyways, guys, follow my Instagram, follow my Snapchat, do whatever you want. That's it for today.